Hello, everybody. This is Laura from Healthy Carnivore. I'm joined here by Rick, and we're going to go over some CGM results here in just a little bit between him and his brother. He is from Carnivore Hunters, that is his brother's YouTube channel. So if you're interested in hunting and carnivore, that's the channel to go to. They have lots of good stuff on there. Very quirky. Your brother has quirky jokes.
Yeah.
Um, so, a little bit of my background is that I'm a registered nurse, been a nurse for over 22 years. I did keto for 28 years. And then in 2019, I went carnivore. So, the first week of February, hit my 6 year carniversary. And so that's kind of my backstory. I'm going to have Rick give a little bit of his backstory and then we'll get in.
Yeah. So I've been carnivore. June 15th will be 2 years. So Doug and I have uh, mostly stuck with carnivore. There's some times when it's pretty difficult, like when we go hunting or uh, some other things. But this discussion we're going to have today, what I've learned is somehow I've got to figure out how to keep it carnivore, even when I'm on the road, on the move, and because I found out within a matter of 2 weeks that man, the smallest cheats for me, I my body pays for it dearly. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that part of that comes from where even though you guys are half brothers, you still have some genetic differences for one.
yeah,
There's an age difference. We won't say how much of an age difference because you guys look the same age.
it's 8 years.
But
I don't mind saying I'm the oldest.
okay,
So
okay. So, but the other thing is even as long as I did keto, the last 2 years of the keto, I really wrecked my system and my stomach, my hormone responses because I was doing those keto treats that, says keto, it should be exactly what they say it is. Of course, we know that's not true. But it has taken me several years, and I do have to stay the utmost lion carnivore. I cannot do I can't do the cheats and stuff. Um, and that's just because I wrecked my system. So that is something we all have to decide and find what works for us. And some people are able to do some vegetables every single day, some nuts, some berries every single day, and others, we just are not able to do that. So
yeah,
so I'm going to go over a little bit of Doug's his CGM results. So he started the first one that I have is January 16th of this year. Um, and really he had a carne asada bowl, which I'm not exactly sure what that even is. I know there's cheese in it, but I don't know exactly what that is. It pretty much looks like that day he stayed what you would call carnivore. He had wings, bacon, and protein shake and coffee.
do you want
And
to
he
do you
pretty
want to
much
do you want to share that
here,
while you talk about it?
let's see if I can. I think you'll have to scroll on it
Yeah,
on
I'll
your
scroll.
computer. Sure. So on there you can see he just had absolutely, there really is hardly a bump in there. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, which is good. I mean, that's kind of what you want. Um, Same with the next day, he basically, it looks like, and I'm not sure when he says milk, if he's doing raw milk or store-bought milk, you know.
store bought. We
Um,
can't get raw milk out here in
oh,
Colorado.
you can't. Okay, okay. All right. So even with him having some regular milk, which regular milk in me, the milk sugar, the lactose bumps me right now. And he barely has little teeny blips. I mean, just nothing. I would say I would love to see what your brother's fasting insulin would be because I'll just about bet it's below 5. That's just a guess, but that
Yeah.
is what I would assume. Um, the following day on Friday with him, he did Greek yogurt.
Oops.
Uh, it looks like 2 grams of beef and cheddar, wings, bacon, stuff like that, buttered coffee. There again, just a little bit of blips here and there, which you would expect to have anytime you eat. You're going to have a little bit of that, you would expect. Um, his stays pretty steady. January 20th, which was Monday, he had the brisket, the bacon, protein shake, and then buttered coffee. So yeah, I don't know what this carne asada. I'm gonna have to find out. Like, what is this carne asada?
It's
But
delicious. It's really good.
is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there again, just little teeny waves, not really hardly anything. You don't see him go up into that 150 or above range. And then the next on the 19th of January, it looks like wine, meat, or he had chicken, parm, and spaghetti and broccolini, scotch, wings, bacon, protein shake, and coffee. Now that day, in the evening after he had like the parm, the spaghetti, broccolini, and the wine, he did just go up to that 150 and maybe just a teeny tiny bit over that. But most of us, myself included, if I had any of those things, mine would have been over 300. I mean, I can do that with just plain broccoli and butter on it. So I know I could have been much higher. So there
Yeah.
again, he really,
What's
yeah.
what's crazy with this one, I think, at least for Doug, is even with the spaghetti after he ate, it didn't put him over that 150 mark, but the wine pushed him just
Mhm,
barely over that mark. So I found
mhm.
that kind of interesting.
How long was his spike after he ate the spaghetti? The spaghetti was at 5. Yeah, the
Yeah,
one that went up to 150 was after that. I mean, you can see he did have some, bumps there, but nothing crazy for sure.
yeah. And when he spikes, it's for an hour or less. It looks like,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
he recovers very, very quickly, that's why I say that I think his fasting insulin would be very low because he's very insulin sensitive, where those of us that are insulin resistant will go up and we stay up. It takes a lot longer for us to get that blood sugar back down,
Hmm.
no matter what it is causing it. So that's just insulin resistance. Yeah, the 22nd, I mean, heck, he went super low. He went down into my ranges. I run in the 50s and 60s for my blood sugar. So he was, and that was Greek yogurt, wings, ribeye, wings, and protein shake and bacon. So yeah, I mean, he just, and the same on the 21st, just nothing. Of course, he stayed pretty good on that day. Really, the spaghetti day is about the only day and wine day where you can see where he had a little bit, but even that's
Yeah.
not too bad when you look at it. And I thought it was interesting that on the 23rd, he had green chili and tortilla, 3 ounces of brisket, stuff like that. And he had that at 625. And like you
Yep.
say, he barely has any kind of a rise, just teeny tiny. And then it's right back to, he's like flatline,
Yeah,
which is
that's
amazing.
crazy. Crazy.
It is crazy. It is. And then the next one that I saw that, which I would expect that was just because of the milk sugar, and that's the kefir. Although kefir doesn't have as much milk sugar because it is fermented. So that's on the 25th of January. And of course, he didn't go over by any stretch of the imagination, but not long after he had that, you do see that he has a little bit of a spike, but it really wasn't, it was nothing, much of nothing. And yeah, the next 3 days, I mean, he just kinda stayed on the straight and narrow. He just really does not have much of a shift, which is, that's where you know that you've definitely had that healing that everybody is really trying to get to.
Yeah, and the next few days after that, I'm trying to remember what Doug said. I'm I'm thinking he fasted for a day or two, and but I also think maybe because there's 3 or 4 days in here, and I don't think he fasted that long, where he has no notes. But maybe he did fast that long.
Yeah, he might have.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, because that's 3 days that, yeah, he doesn't have anything listed, which that would make sense because look, I mean, he stayed really pretty steady all day.
Hmm.
on all 3 of those. So he probably a lot of people do the 3-day fast. That's pretty common to do a 48 to 3,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so that's good.
So I think to clarify here before we go on to my results is the purpose of this experiment for me was to see what I was doing to my body pre-carnivore. And I thought Doug was going to do the same thing, but it looks like the spaghetti day was the only day he really did it.
Yeah,
I so with my experiment, I had several cheats just because I wanted to see at pre-carnivore what I was doing to my body.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so let me see. I'm gonna try to share this other one here.
Sure, sure. Hey, Tara. Hey, T. Hey, Karen's here. And either you said hello or your brother says hello.
Where the heck did it go? Let me see. Oh, here we go. Okay, you want to share that one?
Sure will. There we go. Mhm.
Okay, so this is day one for me, and I should have done a fast before I jumped into this, and I didn't. Um, but I think this might be the tail end of this one. I'm not sure, but no, it wasn't. You know what
Nope.
this one was? It was my first day. I had it's not on here. I had some Funyuns, and so this is the tail end of the Funyuns because I used to
Yep.
love Funyuns. And that this, so we just said Doug, whenever he spiked, was an hour or less. All
Yeah.
my spikes go 3 to 5 hours, which is
Hmm.
crazy. I mean, even this little one right here. Um,
Yep.
let's
Stays
see,
up.
that was right around midnight. Um,
So the last thing you had boiled eggs at like 10:32 that night. You had a whiskey at
yeah,
8:41. Yeah.
yeah, and I think this little running man here. I think I actually did work out on the treadmill, and so that might be.
Okay.
Will that raise blood sugar? Exercise?
Yes, it can. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. It will. That's why I tell people if you're going to go have fasting lab work done, like for hemoglobin A1C, lipids, I tell people do not fast for longer than like uh, 12 hours and don't do exercise that morning before you go and have your blood work done because it will throw your cholesterol off. Mine was 200 points difference in just in 24 hours when I did that. And I did that on purpose to see, and it was the same lab core. One was done by the agency I work for, one was done by the doctor's office I was going to, but it went to the exact same lab and same perimeters, and it was 200 points difference on my cholesterol, and my fasting glucose was at like 82 instead of 52, which is where I
Wow.
kind of run. So yeah,
Yeah.
makes a difference. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
so day two, my work had a holiday party. I'm going to call it a Christmas party. That's what it is. But I thought they were going to. Usually, when they have these parties, there's like a variety of foods. This one, there was only pizza and salad. So I thought, okay,
Mm.
perfect. Let's see what that. And in here, you can see
Mhm.
I was doing okay. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I was kind of fasting, trying to break that uh, that
Yeah.
Funyun spike I had. But here's
Yeah.
what pizza did to me. I mean, I that
Yeah.
one's lasting about, let's see, about 5 to 10 o'clock, so about 5 hours
Yeah.
again.
Again. Yeah.
I so it just it wrecked me. The Funyuns and the pizza wrecked me. Oh, here's one thing I do want to point out though, Laura, is uh,
Mhm.
right around about a quarter to nine, 20 to 9.
Mhm.
I did have some whiskey, and didn't really do a whole lot, maybe a little bit of a climb, but it looked like I
Mhm.
was on a climb anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's not uncommon actually, to see that with whiskey, vodka, the spirits,
Yeah.
basically. But wine, even sometimes beer. Some people can drink beer and they don't get that spike. I am not one of those people, but some people do have that.
Well, we're going to see in a minute here. I can't drink beer either. I'm going to have to stick to the
Yeah,
hard stuff if I choose to drink.
right.
Oh, let's see. So here I kind of went. I did have a Yellowstone beef stick. Have you had those?
I have not.
They are delicious.
No.
But
Are they?
I kind of went carnivore and ate. I didn't fast, but I just minimized what I was eating to try to get me back on track this day. Uh, Same thing here. I did up a little bit what I was eating. Um, and this day I fasted except for a beef stick. I made it. I might have even had two beef sticks. I don't remember.
Yeah, but
Uh,
still, that's pretty good.
yeah, and I'm
Oh
within
yeah.
the range, so that's good.
Yep.
Here, so
Yep.
here's where I had the beer. I had two beers,
Yeah.
and it didn't. What I find kind of surprising with this is it did not destroy me like the Funyuns and the pizza did. I found that really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not as bad of a spike, and, of course, it didn't last quite as long as the others did, but you have to remember alcohol does go straight to the liver and is filtered pretty fast too, um, where no offense, but when you eat something like Funyuns, which is really just a bunch of chemicals thrown together that taste like
Yeah,
onions,
yeah,
I watched how they made them the other day. I had never had a Funyun, but I watched, a YouTube scientist guy was on there and he showed all the things that was put in it and it was pretty bad and I thought holy moly, but that's why is because that stuff, I mean the body doesn't know where to put it, how to break it down, and it just sits there, you
mm,
know.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you should go try to look that video up and just see what's in Funyuns on YouTube sometime, and you'll definitely, it's like my husband and Doritos. He hasn't had Doritos since he read the back of the Dorito bag. He's like, "Nope,
yeah.
I'm
Good,
done."
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So this day I did fast. It looks like,
Mhm. Yep.
and I did okay. Um, so this day I had a salad with blue cheese dressing, and that was at
Mhm.
5:30 ish. So
Yeah. So,
right in here, and so it did kind of put me over a
yep,
little bit. And
yep.
it was
So
probably
they
the
brought
blue
you up there.
cheese. It was
Yeah.
probably the blue cheese, right? Because
Yep.
it it was a house salad, so it had uh, your typical house salad stuff. It had some carrots and eggs and
Yeah.
uh, that kind of. So it was kind of ketovore except for the dressing.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think it's
But
interesting how it kind of went in and out for again several hours.
yeah.
So for me, I'm not like Doug. If I cheat even just a little bit, it's going to hurt me for 3 to 5 hours, according to this
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, the other thing that might have brought it up, more than likely it was the blue cheese dressing because it was seed oils, it was, the
Hmm.
junk. Um, Carrots also are very sugary, so that could have been something else. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, it was probably that blue cheese. But yeah, you stayed up there for quite a long time. In fact, yeah, that one was almost 6 hours that you stayed up. So
Yeah,
that's pretty extensive. Yeah.
yeah. Tara's got a pretty good question here.
Let's see. Laura, do you think that seed oils that are in foods affect blood sugar at all? I do. Yep, I do.
Yep.
Um, and I'm not sure of the exact mechanism of how that happens. I just know that back when I was doing keto before I switched over to carnivore, um, I was utilizing seed oils to make some of my keto treats. Um, and really the only thing that could have caused that would have been the seed oils. I wasn't using like maltodextrin or anything like that that can raise the blood sugar. I was using allulose, which does not raise my blood sugar. I've used that before. It does not do anything to my blood sugar. So I'm not sure why it does that. I know that our bodies cannot break the seed oils down. There's no place for it to go and it just hangs out there. So I'm not sure if it causes the cells to not be able to pick up the glucose that's running around in the bloodstream, and so it just sits out there in the blood longer. Not positive. That would be my guess. So that would be my guess. T. Lewis says, "What length of time is not safe for insulin spikes?" I don't think that there is necessarily amount of time that it's not safe that you're in a spike. It's kind of how high that spike is for more than anything, unless you are a diabetic. If you are a true diabetic, then having, those horrible spikes that bump you up 200, 300, you're ruining little blood vessels. You're going to have retinopathy, you're going to have neuropathy, the nerves in the legs. The main thing is the spikes, and the more you can keep yourself from having those spikes, and you can keep it at a steady, level, the more closely you're going to get to what they call insulin sensitivity, where those cells allow that insulin to unlock it so that the glucose either that we make or that you get in your body will go into those cells as it's supposed to, instead of it sitting there just circulating in the bloodstream. So that's the main thing, is if you can avoid those spikes, it's really worth it. And like you are looking at yours, people there are some people that go off for like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, which is completely up to every single person. They have to decide. But the way my mind thinks is, I'm like, well, how far do I want to put myself back? Like, how, if I haven't gotten to that point of healing, how long is it going to take me to get to that point? Because every time I go have one of these holidays or, a birthday party or something. So I really don't go off plan, other than occasionally I will do a fermented dill pickle, or fermented sauerkraut. And I mean, it's very, very rare, but that's about the only thing. That's my cheats. Some people's are brownies, and I guess mine's fermented stuff. So
Yeah, something you hear Dr. Ken Berry say a lot in a lot of his videos is he can't do any fruit, can't do because he knows that it's going to spike his insulin. And now after doing this experiment, I get it. I like I I pretty much have to eat nothing but carnivore and maybe a few vegetables here and there if I want, but like with the dressing, I got to watch what I'm putting in there. Uh,
yeah.
and like you said, the carrots are sugary, so maybe I stick with putting bacon and eggs in my salad.
Yep,
I don't know, but it is crazy.
it is.
Um, this one, uh, is it this one?
The sardine day is kind of crazy, which is January 29th. It's a Wednesday.
Uh huh. But
That
but
one's
still,
kind of like,
that was at like 7 p.m. right here. So I
yeah,
don't know. Let me go back down here real quick. Yeah, this one was kind of weird.
yeah,
I can't explain that, and because I was riding high that whole day, I wasn't
yeah.
particularly
Oh,
stressed out, and
yeah. So that is the day after you had the salad, the meatballs
mhm.
and salad, where you kind of went up and you stayed up starting just around 6 o'clock to midnight there. And of course, we can't see, but then it looks like you did come down but it's almost like you had a rebound
Yeah,
effect,
yeah, I'm
which you
kind of
can have.
riding that. I'm kind of riding that upper limit there. Um,
Mhm.
I I don't think I fasted this. There was one day I just forgot to put my meals in, and I don't. I think this might be that day, and I don't remember what
Oh,
I had.
on the yeah, the 30th.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I can tell you I stuck to carnivore that day though. So I was just I was getting really nervous and maybe a little bit stressed out without realizing I was stressed out because I kept riding that upper limit and I couldn't understand why. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and so cortisol, is your stress hormone that bumps up your sugar. So if you're stressed and you work a crazy shift, that also kind of puts you at a predicament where your cortisol can be off a little bit because I mean, you work evenings, nights, don't you?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, your sleep wake cycle is kind of not really where it would be the best for you. It's what you have to do right now. But so with that cortisol going high, you know, that part of it can do that. And just being stressed out alone can do that. But yeah, that day, boy, you stayed right at that 150 all the way across
Mhm,
there. But I will tell you another thing that I found on myself, um, and some people it doesn't affect this way. This is one of the reasons that I eat the 80% fat to 20% protein because I am somebody, if I take in, I can do about zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. If I do that 1.5 to 2, like a lot of people talk about, I will gain weight and my
mhm,
blood sugar will go up because my liver will convert that protein. It'll do that gluconeogenesis because it's like no more protein than you need. We'll just convert it. And I'm like, dang it,
yeah,
because you wouldn't think that just eating the meats and fat that it would do that. But that is kind of about 10, 11 months ago. That's kind of when I shifted and decided to start doing such a higher fat to protein ratio. And I mean, I lost 10 pounds without, I really wasn't trying to lose 10 pounds. I just didn't want to gain anything.
mhm.
And I lost 10 more pounds doing that. Um, just, I don't even know when it happened. It just happened. I went to the doc and weighed, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess I lost 10 more pounds. So, you know,
Yeah. So speaking of the sleep, I can tell on every single chart here. So I typically, because I work night shift, I get up anywhere between 11 or between 11 and 1 o'clock is typically when I get up. And so these
right.
are my dawn, what do you call that? Dawn
On
phenomenons?
phenomenon. Yep.
Yeah. And so here's my dawn phenomenon right here. I can pretty much guarantee you I woke up in this time frame. And
Yep.
then I ate some roast and and later on that night I had. So here's something interesting. At no. So here's that blue cheese again. Got me.
Yep.
So
It did. Yeah.
and but then I had roast later on that night, and that's still riding that
Yep.
upper limit.
Yeah. But, it seems like to me the other one that you rode high like that for several hours was the other time you did salad with the blue cheese dressing. Um,
Hmm.
that one is the one that you started around 6 and was still that way at midnight. So yeah, that's just something you probably, and you can make your own salad dressings. I don't know if you like Italian, but you can take apple cider vinegar, um, and mix some olive oil or avocado oil and put some seasoning in it if you want, and use that for a salad dressing if that's something that you like. I'm sure I made keto type salad dressings. There's tons of recipes out there too if you wanted to do something like that. But yeah, I don't know, if you've looked at the back of your salad dressing, but I will just about guarantee that it has canola oil, vegetable oil, corn oil, rapeseed oil, safflower. It's going to have one of those. Oh, Tara says she makes her own blue cheese and she wears a CGM. And she said
No,
she doesn't get a spike from hers. So we may have to have her share her recipe.
Yeah, if I mean we're gonna be talking a little bit longer here. If she wants to put it in the chat, we could share that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And you could always try it and see if that works for you.
yeah. Um, well, actually, it's going to be rare for me now. Now I'm back to pretty much 100% carnivore, or not pretty much. I am 100% carnivore right now, and I don't see me eating any fruits or veggies, and especially fruit. And hopefully we'll see that in a minute here. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know why this says argument. I I don't know. That's weird, but uh, here on Sunday I came back down quite a bit.
Yep.
Uh, I had to move a bunch of boxes. That was around noon, so it kind of maybe spiked me a little, but nothing
Mhm.
big there. I was glad to see I finally came back down after several days.
Yeah.
Um, and then this one, I don't know why it doesn't have the notes here. Uh, was this the keto one? I think this was the one where my neighbors are uh, keto and they're pretty clean
Mhm.
keto. And
Right.
my neighbor, he makes the best carnivore desserts. And so we had him over this particular night, and
Yeah.
I can't remember what all. There's this weird sugar I had never heard of, made out of a fruit. Do you know what I'm
Hmm.
talking about? It's
Well,
and it's
there's
supposed to
monk
be
fruit.
monk fruit. It was
Yeah.
monk fruit
Yeah.
sugar, and
Yeah.
so it had monk fruit sugar and apples, and I'm not sure what else. But here
Mhm.
again, it spiked me for
Yep.
almost a half a
Quite a
day.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a long time. Yeah.
yeah, and so it wasn't super high, but
Mhm.
the duration is what I didn't like about that. And
Yeah.
then this particular, so this is a Dexcom from Stello. If you go to, and I'm
Mhm.
not sponsored, but if you go to
Yeah.
stello.com, you can get two of these CGMs for $99 or $100
Hmm.
plus tax. And so I wore one, my wife wore one. So I actually would like to go and buy another one and kind of continue this experiment, but without the processed foods. The pizza and the Funyuns kind of did it for me. I won't do that stuff ever again. But I am curious about some certain fruits and vegetables and, uh, just in general, what is this stuff doing to me? What's the food doing
Mhm.
to me? And, and it's a great reminder of, you know, you got to stay clean, especially somebody like me who is uh, apparently more insulin resistant than my
Insulin
brother.
resistant. Sure. Yep. Yep.
I mean, this was an eye opener for me. So I highly recommend anybody that has never uh, had to wear a CGM, because the FDA just approved this for over the counter sale, what, six,
Right.
8 months ago, right? And
Yeah.
so I would highly recommend everybody, especially if you're on a carnivore or a keto diet, but you like to go out and have your cheats or whatever. This is an eye opener for me.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and it's kind of like one of the first patients I worked with in home health that was diabetic. He already had a Libre system, CGM on, and had that for I think about a year when I got in the home. And he was the one that was so interesting to see. Like the day I went to admit him, it was like 11:30 in the morning, and he had had nothing to eat since prior. Um, the day prior, like in like 6 o'clock in the evening before, and yet he was sitting at 440, just fasted for, I mean, that's a long time,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh," and, and he had even taken his medication, so he was on 3 different pills and 2 different types of insulin, and even with those, he was sitting at 440, and I'm just like, and he had had a surgical amputation of the lower leg, and I'm like, "That is not gonna heal with that blood sugar being like that," and at
Yeah.
first he's a truck driver, and he's a guy, and I'm a girl, so he's like, "I am not listening to a thing you're saying." So he didn't I think he heard me, but it was like, "Wah, wah, 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 wah," Charlie Brown teacher. But when he had to go back to the doctor and they were talking about, we may have to go above the knee, which would he'd have no CDL at that point. Um, and that they were scheduling him for that surgery, and he basically had the doctor, he called me and had me talk to the doctor while they were in office to say, can you give me 2 more weeks, can you give me some time and see if I can work with him. And at that point he was ready to do whatever. And we found with him, he could still eat some of those carbs. Like, he could still have, like, steel cut oatmeal, which takes forever to cook on the stove. It's not been mashed, it's not been processed to death. He could still eat that if he put a whole, like, a tablespoon of butter on it, mixed that in and ate that, he wouldn't get that spike. Now he would go up some, but he would stay steady, and then he'd kinda go back down as long as he really did that fat with it. Um, but so just him having that on there, though, I think did help him, because he would see that, and he could eat something, and, 45 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, oh." And so I
Yeah.
think it is a nice thing. Um, there's 2 parts to this, with the CGMs being, the FDA taking it to where it doesn't have to have a prescription. Part of me is like, yes, for people like us who are not diabetic, who want to get those. But the other part of me is these people who are on fixed incomes. Once it no longer is, then the insurance doesn't cover a lot of that for these people. And I'm always like, they kind of need it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's just 2 sides of the same coin, basically, but that's kind of how they have that. Let's see. That CGM is the one I want to try. It's good to know that it works. Oh, Stella. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So I threw the link in there
Perfect.
for people. Uh,
Yeah.
oh, you just said something that triggered a thought for me, and I forgot already. Uh, ah, I, it'll come to me. Here we go. I
Let's
am not
see.
that good. I make the dressing, not the cheese. I am slowly learning how to make various things, but the only cheese I have made is kefir cheese. I have no idea what
Mhm.
kefir cheese is, and
Yeah.
and Doug even had it in his
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
results.
He probably had the kefir drink. So if you can think about yogurt that's in a drink type, it's kind of like that, it's fermented. But there's cheeses that you can do that with. You probably could buy blue cheese and get some, like, probably half and half, and probably make your own blue cheese dressing with that and see how that did. It doesn't have to, I mean, if you want to put a little oil in it, you can, so that it kind of marries together. But then you could just use olive oil or avocado oil and try that. But I am sure there are thousands of recipes out there that you could, go out there and figure out. Because when I used to eat salads, blue cheese dressing, I could just eat the whole wheel of blue cheese and forget the rest of the salad. That
I
was
love blue cheese.
always, yes, that was always my favorite, yeah.
Wow,
Oh, yeah,
sour
sour
cream.
cream. That's a good idea, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Yep, I didn't even think about that. I think I have a hard time thinking about ways of making stuff like that because I'm lactose intolerant, so
Mm.
and I for years, I was like, I'm kind of bullheaded, which I'm sure everybody here knows, that I'm like, I'm going to make myself no longer be lactose intolerant. I'll keep eating this. I'll keep eating. Not that I ate stuff like that every day, but back when I was keto, I might do like a whole day where I just went crazy on cheeses and yogurts and stuff, and I paid for it for 3 days, and then I wouldn't do it again for a while, and I'd be like, I'm not some things I just don't think you can desensitize yourself to if you're truly lactose intolerant, and, I've had blood testing done, and I am 100% lactose intolerant. There will be no cheese in my future, so and that's okay.
Yeah, I have to be really careful with the dairy, any dairy, well, and especially cheese, because when I first started this carnivore lifestyle, I was including cheese, and pork rinds is the other one, and I wasn't shedding the weight like I wanted to. That was my primary reason for starting carnivore, was to lose weight. Uh, just all the health benefits I've experienced is kind of been a nice bonus, and actually made me more passionate about sharing my experiences, uh, just with all the improvements in health that I've had.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so can you tell some of the people, that don't know what have been some of your, health improvements that you've seen?
I would say the biggest one is inflammation. Uh, it, 'Cause I felt arthritic all over, all my joints, my knees, my hands, my shoulders. I was feeling arthritic all over. Uh, I would dread climbing up a hill or up some stairs, and I do nothing but stairs. Even when I was pre-carnivore, I would always try to take the stairs rather than an elevator. Uh, it's healthier, the healthier option, but it would kind of hurt my knees, and now it doesn't hurt my knees anymore. um, Man, I reversed type 2 diabetes. uh, I
That's excellent.
my The last time I checked my blood glucose, other than with the CGM, or my A1C, I should say, the last time I checked, it was at 4.5, if I remember correctly. uh,
Excellent.
Yeah, and for years and years and years, the doctor always told me that I was pre-diabetic, and then I went into one appointment. This was probably my second biggest motivator for starting the carnivore lifestyle. Was I had this one particular appointment, and the doctor said, "Okay, now you're type 2 diabetic." And I was like, "Well, crap." And so I can't remember if it was 6 months or a year. I've got videos on it, but I went in, or it was that November timeframe, in which is open enrollment for most people, and
Mhm,
they had a table set up where they were checking A1Cs, and I got
mhm,
tested, and it was 4.5, and I was like, wow, okay. And so then I go to the doctor, and I'm like, hey, test this again, and same
mhm,
thing. And so I completely reversed the uh, type 2 diabetes. What
mhm.
what else? I just feel better. Whenever my brother and I go hunting, I can hike harder and higher and deeper than I could the last probably 10, 15 years, because I just gotten
Mhm.
so fat and out of shape. So, you know, dragging a deer out, or quartering an elk is
It's
I
hard work.
used to, yeah, and I used to dread it because I'd have to be down on my knees, and I couldn't be on my knees for too long. And now, like I said, with all the inflammation gone, I can sit on my knees for a long time, and dress an animal out. So
Yeah.
there's just so much.
What about, so you've lost the weight. Are you, putting on muscle easier, you feel like? How's that been?
I I haven't been trying to put on muscle. I am working out, but I'm not trying to put on muscle. I just kind of want to stay toned up. Uh,
Mm,
but I can't really tell. I had a goal weight of 180, and I still have never hit that. That last few pounds is just uh, been really
it's fine.
difficult. And there was a couple of times that I kind of fallen off the wagon and have gotten back on. And as a matter of fact, between hunting season of last year and New Year's, I had put 16 pounds back on, and I've since taken that off. And
Awesome.
I act, yeah, I actually feel like I'm at my pre-hunting weight right now, and I
Mhm.
with the trajectory I have going right now, I really think I'm going to hit my goal weight this time. Hopefully by my 2-year carniversary, which is
Yeah.
3-4
In
months
June.
away. Yeah,
Yeah,
June
that would be
15th.
awesome.
Yeah.
Have you noticed your blood pressure? Has that improved any? Because I know you had some trouble with that.
Yeah, I haven't checked it in a long time because I was getting so frustrated with it. I could not get it down.
Gotcha.
And actually, now that you mention it, I'm going to start checking it again. I just was getting so frustrated. And I think with that weight I gained between hunting and New Year's, that probably didn't help me at all. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and I should be due for my annual checkup with my doctor. So I want to run a bunch of these tests again that I want him to run all the tests he ran last year because I asked for
Yeah.
extras based on talking to
Do
you and
you
listening to the
yeah.
professionals.
Do you remember if they did a fasting insulin for you last time? Not a fasting
I
glucose, because that's what they like to do, but a fasting insulin.
I don't think so. I'd have to go back
Yeah,
and look.
I would ask him and I would just say, I want a fasting insulin. I kind of want to see where I'm at because I've been able to bring down my hemoglobin A1C and I want to see if I'm healing things and I want to see that my insulin because they always say really 10 to 20 they're like 10 to 20 is normal and I'm like mm-mm. 10 to 20 is normal with the people that are walking around out there but we've seen those people so I don't want my average to be their average, and that's how all of our lab work is set up. It's not set up for
Yeah,
somebody that eats ketogenic, um, but you really want to be single digits on the fasting insulin. So um, I know people that have gotten it down to like I think 2. I know somebody that has a 2. Mine sits at a 4. Um, which is fine, but I've been doing this a long, long time. So
yeah.
I didn't do that blood work till just last year. So I don't know if I had gotten myself down. I would say I probably had not until I really figured out for myself of the high fat, that low protein. That's kind of where I feel like I have done my best. I sleep my best, my energy, my hormones are the happiest. My husband says I'm nicer. So that's good. Um, and I have crazy mad energy. Like I can get up
Mhm.
at 4:30 and yeah, and I don't require I do drink half a cup of coffee with half a cup of water in the morning. But it is not required. I've done it several times where I'm like, I don't really feel like coffee and I won't drink coffee for a year. But it does not seem to affect me. I'm already hyper, so I'm not one of those people that does good on coffee because then I'm bouncing off the walls and nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, I being a night shift worker, you'd think I would drink a lot of coffee, but I actually, I've been on night shift now a little over 2 years, and I can't, especially in the summertime, I can't wake up and drink a hot beverage when it's 90 degrees out, and so during the winter, I might have 1 or 2 cups of coffee within a month, but when I was day
Yeah.
shift, I drank coffee every day, and now I very rarely drink it. I just picked up some coffee that I haven't tried yet. I went to a Clint Black concert, and he had his own
Yeah.
brand of coffee there. So I'm going to try that and see how it tastes.
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
great show.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bet it was. Yeah. He's pretty
Yeah.
good. The coffee that we use is an organic. It's from Melaleuca, which is like an organic company. Because I could never drink like the Folgers because I am very allergic to mold. Mycotoxins in me do not work out well,
Mm.
and those are picked very green and wet. Those beans, the Folgers brand especially. and it would just make me I'd be jittery, and I thought, "Oh, I can't do caffeine." Well, it wasn't that, it was the mycotoxins, it was the mold that was in it. Because once I did the
Mm,
organic where it's, they have a little bit higher standards for their stuff, I don't get the jitters at all from it. So,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, just
So,
another one of those things that, we're all kind of, we're all human beings, but like your CGM show, we are all 100% different. How
how
much
much?
does insulin sensitivity help with strength training to build and maintain muscles? I would say you want to be very sensitive because the muscle cells absolutely thrive on glucose. So if you are not able to get the glucose into the cell because the insulin doesn't unlock that cell, you're not going to be getting that energy source in there. So that is, yeah. And I have people go, well, you don't eat any glucose. And I'm like, no, but my body is smart enough to know that parts of my brain, some of my muscles, my red blood cells need glucose, and my liver functions correctly and it will do gluconeogenesis to the amount that needs to be there. So I think it's basically 1 teaspoon of glucose is what your body it can handle pretty much at any given time in the bloodstream. So when you think about a Pepsi, a Coke, any of those pops, even if you just did the old like 8 ounce, that's like 16 teaspoons. I mean, just in a drink, it's like, gosh. And that's why we have fatty liver disease to the levels that we do, and the diabetes, and all the rest of it. So hopefully over the next few years we can get some of that taken care of, through the government, through the USDA, FDA, CDC, stuff like that. Hopefully, we can get some guidelines and get some stuff cleaned up so that, and it's not that you can't have this. I think it's more of here's truly what this stuff does to you, so that you can't make an informed consent on something if you don't know the truth. You need to know what's in it and what it can do to you, and then you make that choice. The other thing is, I used to work in a food factory, and when we made food for certain other countries, or like we did one that was kosher, very clean, only had these ingredients, that was it. And then when we'd switch over to the Walmart brand of what we were making, I'm not kidding you, we did everything but throw in the trash can. I mean, it was like, I mean, they just added all this junk, and I mean, at the time, I was like, "Okay, I don't know who's eating this stuff. It's not me because 'cause I'm not eating it because I knew what was in it." But I just thought, "Why we do that to our food, even though we can make it cleaner for these other companies and countries."
Yeah, and that's we're the only country that. Well, I don't want to say the only country, but we are probably the worst regulated when it comes to the crap that we're putting in our food. And
Yeah.
I just, not that if you remove it, that box of Cheerios is going to be any healthier. Well, it will be. It's still probably not
Mhm.
the meal of choice, but I think
Right.
it'll help with if RFK can do some of the things that he says he's going to do, I think it will
Mm.
help with the the obesity issue we're having in the
Yeah.
United States. And
Yeah.
I, I I think about him a lot, RFK. I hope he can do uh, the things he says he's going to do without a whole lot of fight from
Yeah.
our Congress
Yeah.
and the senators and
Right. Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I think we've seen through the last few weeks, um, whether no matter what political party you subscribe to, when it comes to, Congress, they're millionaires, and they didn't become millionaires off of 174,000 salary.
yeah,
Um, and so I think as you dig and see, well, where does their money come from? And you see what lobbyist, and it's Coca-Cola Brothers, it's CNH, it's Quaker, it's all the or it's pharmaceuticals that
yep,
prescribe the medications that are given to people because now they have a metabolic disease from the food. that was
Yeah.
approved, which used to drive me insane. I would talk about the FDA made no sense to me that those two entities were together because I'm like, the food part, tells you what food is you're allowed to have for consumption. Then you get the metabolic disease from that. And then the drug part of the FDA comes in and says, "We've got the drug to fix the metabolic disease from from the food that we approved." I'm just like, isn't that a conflict
Yeah.
of interest?
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, it just drives me insane. And when you
Yep.
say that to the average person that isn't on a health journey, they're just like, well, yeah, but and I'm like, nowhere else does it that way. You go to other countries, their food and drugs is completely separate. Only here.
I have talked to so many people that they would rather take a pill than adjust their lifestyle. They
Yep.
because they want to eat that pizza or
Yeah.
that bag of Funyuns. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think if everybody could put that CGM on and then pick up that bag of Lay's or Doritos, whatever, and just
And try it.
I mean, it's mind blowing. Keep in mind with that Funyun experiment I did it like I
Mhm.
did when I was pre carnivore, and it wasn't the lunch size. It was, bag, however many
Wow.
ounces that was. And I just sat there and watched TV and then watched my CGM, and I was like, oh, shit, that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Isn't it crazy how fast? But yeah, I think if you have time, you should go out there and see if you can find that video on YouTube that talks about how they make the Funyuns, what the ingredients are. I think it will blow your mind because it literally is like a chemistry, like you're sitting in chemistry class and it's like mixing all these things. It's kind of like the Muppet doctors, the bork, bork, bork.
yeah.
Pretty, yeah. Yeah, I watched that and I just thought, "Oh my gosh." So, Laura, speaking of low income, if we can get better ingredients in, let's see, in the
The,
boxed garbage, we can get something better. Yes, 2 children who eat these things. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and part of the thing has been I always call like Cheerios and breads and stuff. I have always thought of those as peasant food. That's just my mindset that I've had because kings and queens didn't eat that junk until, later on. And then they would eat sugar and stuff like that. They were obese. And then
Yeah.
they throw, like brisket. Brisket was like peasant food. And I'm like, good. I'd rather have that than this because to me, this is peasant food.
Right.
It'll fill your stomach up and you can live, but are you really thriving? you know
Right.
you're not to the best that you are. And I see it with the children so bad. Of type 2 diabetes when I went to nursing school was not called type 2 diabetes, it was called adult onset diabetic. That's what it was, diabetes adults onset.
Hmm.
And then somewhere in these 20 some years, now it's just considered type 2, and we're seeing children under the age of 10 who are going to endocrinologists. They're in the office as much as any adults that you see down there now, with that fatty liver disease, you know, uh, polynephritis, issues with their kidneys, neuropathy. You're having these kids. They can't. I literally can tell you that in the town I live in, there is probably only 3 kids in this town that could probably they wouldn't be able to maybe outrun me, but they might be able to run longer than me, but the rest of them, there's no way. Absolutely no way, and that shouldn't be.
There's another improvement I've had in my health is I used to have neuropathy in my middle toe on my left foot. That's gone now. And my
Excellent.
neuropathy, it was just a numbness. I couldn't
Mhm.
feel I could feel my toe, but my toe couldn't. You know what I'm saying? It was
Right.
just numb.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's another health improvement I've had. Living on the
Awesome.
carnivore lifestyle. Bunions, the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
vegetables that the Winchester boys eat. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, And I don't know. I must have been going through YouTube and just scrolling or something. And I saw a bag of Funyuns, and then he had this big beaker sitting next to it. And he's like, these are the ingredients that are in it. And it's on the back of the bag. And he's just like, and you see him. And I just thought, wow, wow, that is
Yeah,
not food. It's what freaking food.
I have it pulled up here, so I'll look at it when we're done here. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I
So,
that was an experiment. I'll never eat them again, especially looking at my results. I like I said, wearing that CGM is just a great reminder of don't fall off the wagon, stick with it. And I know I can't.
mhm,
I can't eat fruits. I can't eat processed foods for sure. Uh,
yeah.
the one experiment I wish I could have done was tortilla because I love my breakfast burritos, right? Or back in the day I did, and
Mhm,
so I'd like to just see what a tortilla would do to me. Uh,
yeah.
so I've actually considered buying another Stello.
Yeah.
My wife is done. She doesn't want to do it anymore. So if I bought that 2 pack again, I could get another month's worth of data and
Oh, yeah.
and try to experiment with some things. And that's I think too. I screwed up when I purchased it the first time because I put it on my credit card, and I thought, well, this has to do with my health. I could have put it on my HSA, and so I
Oh,
think
yeah.
next time when I go to buy one, which I think I will, I'm going to put it on my HSA, and that'll go
Mhm.
towards my deductible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Charlie is Darth Carnivore, and he was just asking, he was curious of what your CGM readings look like when you were asleep. So some of yours, just by me going back and grabbing your like January 21st, 22nd, um, because you sleep, what time do you get off in the morning?
Uh, 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just depends. I can pull
Yep.
one of them up.
Yeah.
I think this one's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. So typically, let's see. I'll go to bed about 6 in the morning. So you could see here that I'm pretty low, and then here's that dawn phenomenon.
Yep.
But I would see that pretty much every morning. You can kind of see it up here too.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's the dawn phenomenon, and then
Yeah.
so yeah,
Some people drop really low in the nighttime, which that's the thing about
let me.
CGMs. So I would love to have a CGM and wear one all the time. My problem is you can't set them to what your normal is. So like I run in the 50s, 60s. That's my normal. I can go run, I can do kickboxing. That's not low for me because I have done this for so long and had no, haven't taken in sugar and carbs, that I don't, that's just my normal blood sugar. And if we look back to 100 years ago, that was really the average blood sugar was 50 to 60 was the normal range. And then 1925s, 30s, it was like 70 to 80. And we just keep bumping it up, bumping it up. And now we were sent documents from the Diabetic Association that they're calling 100 to 130 normal. And I'm like, no, it is not. But they
Yeah.
just keep bumping that number up because our lab values are set on the average of everybody out there. And let's
So
look at the average people.
so what's really cool with this Stello, and I'm sure probably all whoever you want to use, you don't have to use Stello, but you can adjust that upper and lower limit. So if you're at
Oh, you can? Oh,
yeah, so if you're typically in the 50s or whatever you said, you could maybe
mhm,
set
yep,
that lower limit to 30 or 20, whatever you want to set it at. Doug and I, because you can see off to the left here, it says 70 to
sure,
140. That's the upper and the lower.
okay,
That's what they
right.
recommend. Whether that's right or, well,
Oh,
according to what you just said, that's probably not right, but that's just
Yeah.
their recommendation. So we went
Right.
with the default.
Sure, sure. Which
I,
I mean is fine, but I just know that like from doing, I had the Keto Mojo that I could do ketones or I could check my blood sugar. I
mhm,
just know that I run in the 50s, and you tell most people like, hey, if your blood sugar is in the 50s, I mean they're crashing. It's not good.
mhm.
But that tells me that my insulin sensitivity is good now. It took a long time to get there, but I cannot. Uh, yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, I may go ahead and get that and kinda try that. Tara had an idea too, for you for your, tortillas, is have somebody do it with the sourdough, because that sourdough is fermented and it eats up the sugars. So,
Oh,
people make sourdough bread, you know,
okay.
I'm sure they can make tortillas. The other thing you could do is you can take, egg whites, and you can get a pan and get it warm and get the oil and make your own little egg wraps too. So you could do something like that, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Cool.
So yeah,
Funyuns is what they sweep up off the floor from making potato chips.
potato chips. It's actually even worse than that, Michael. Like if you can find that video, you should go look at it, because like I said, the last time, that I went to the grocery store with my husband, he was like, "Oh, I'm kinda hungry for Doritos," and I didn't say nothing because 'cause I'm famous for walking down the aisle just reading the ingredients out loud, because I'm rude that way. Um, and he picked it up and he starts down the next aisle and he's reading it and he goes, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Forget it," and he put them back, and I think he got, Fritos, which are just corn, oil, and salt, and I don't remember, but I mean, I wouldn't eat those, but it's a better choice than Doritos, for
Mm,
him. What was the other thing? He was looking at, Duncan Hines cake mix. So all these cake mixes at Walmart, all the different ones are sitting there. And he was like, I want to, I think he does like a pineapple upside down or something. I don't know. I don't do it because I'm a mean wife. Um, but he wanted to get those and he starts reading those ingredients. And I am not kidding you, ethylene glycol. Every one of those boxed cake mixes had ethylene glycol.
wow.
Yeah, I would love to have that because that's what we put in our RV for the radiator fluid. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
so I've been on this true crime documentary kick, and guess
yeah.
what? A lot of these
Yep.
murderers are using
Ye Yep.
murderers.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. But that's in the food. And the thing is we get used to we're so trusting, and these food companies are allowed to put like the green check mark on the front of the box, which you assume green check mark means it's good, or heart healthy.
Right.
It's not that they have to pass any kind of stringent test to be able to put that out there. They're allowed to proclaim whatever they want to on their boxes of food, which I think that will go away. I think that's one of the things that I've really heard and read, and some of his other lawsuits that RFK Jr. has done, um, is that's just it's not boldly lying, but it's kind of lying to the consumer, because
Hmm.
that's just you start to I mean, I've had lots of patients that are like, "I have Honey Nut Cheerios," and they're like, "They're heart healthy," and I was like, "Are they? Are they really? Because 'Cause they're not,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And then when you read the ingredients, they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh, you had never looked at the ingredients." Same with bread. I'll have patients that'll be like, "Yeah, but I get this kind of bread." And I'm like, "Is it sourdough bread?" "No, it's this." "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, when you used to make bread when you were younger, how many ingredients was in your bread?" And they're like, "Oh, 5, maybe 4 or 5." I go, "Oh, okay." And I'd turn over their bread and there'd be 35 to 37 ingredients. And I'm like, I have a chemistry degree, and some of this, I'm not even sure what the hell it is. So just think
Right.
about the average person, and they're just like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Did you see about making some sourdough bread? Like, try that and see how that works, with your body." So, yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's pretty interesting. But yeah, that'll be interesting to kind of see the next time you do that, especially if you do a full month's worth, um, and kind of see how that affects you. That is pretty cool. FDA said a little antifreeze won't hurt you. Yeah. Yeah. It won't hurt you. It's not hard on the kidneys at all.
No,
It's
no.
totally fine.
Yeah, I put a little in my water here, so I'm fine.
I should use that during deer season. Maybe I wouldn't get so cold.
Right. Just as long as you keep your
Yeah.
motor running.
Exactly,
So.
exactly. So, yeah, well, I want to thank you for being on here and letting us go over your results and Doug's results. I think it's really good for people to see out there that, you guys are half brothers and you got
Mhm.
some of the same DNA, but that just shows you that DNA, loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, and those choices that we make can make a big difference too.
Yeah, it was an eye opener for me, and that's part of the reason I want to go for another month is do a few experiments, not as extreme uh,
Yeah.
as the pizza and the Funyuns, but
Yeah.
it's just, man, it's a great reminder for me to just stay the path. It's stay don't I will not fall off the wagon again. I can tell you that after this
Yeah.
experiment, it was just like, wow, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Like Tara talks about, she does a lot of fermented stuff. When I do eat anything that is not meat based, it is fermented. Whether, like I said, fermented dill pickles, fermented, it'd be kind of interesting to see what that, any of the stuff that we would consider clean, single ingredient type stuff, what's that do to you? So, yeah,
Yeah,
I might get those as well and see about doing that. So, yeah. Tara says, "Do it." That is what led me to change that's what led her to change her diet. So, yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for being on here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And like I said, you can like this, share this if you know somebody who's been thinking about doing a CGM. I think this is a good video to share out with them. And then go over to Carnivore Hunters and subscribe to their channel. They have some good shorts, definitely some. I'm always
Some
like,
corny ones.
uh-oh. I know, I'm always like, "What is this gonna be a corny one?" Which I like corny anyway, so it works out,
Yeah.
but yeah. Yeah, so, yep,
So,
I appreciate you guys.
yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. We'll talk to you
Yep.
later.
Alright, see ya.
Yeah.
As I always say, meet, heat,
Meet,
eat,
heat,
and
eat, and
repeat.
repeat.
That's right.